everyone and welcome back. I thought I would come on here today and give you a bit of a progress report for those of you who are interested in how my online income is progressing. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, then I would recommend that you watch the video about my online income becoming a complete disaster, and also possibly the vlog that I put out, I think a couple of weeks ago now, where you get a little bit of a sense of how things are progressing from that. But this is a slightly more formal progress report, but not completely. I have taken some screenshots of some bits and pieces, but not of everything. And I have written down a few notes with some kind of points and figures and things that I want to convey in this video. Now, those of you who watched the video about my online income becoming a disaster and my plan to start up 10 different streams of income, you'll know that actually I'm not trying to do all 10 of them at the moment, and that I'm focusing on the first sort of 5 of those, trying to build them, grow them, and then kind of see where I am with them, and then next year make a start on the others, or make any adjustments that are needed in terms of dropping something that isn't working, redoubling my efforts on something that perhaps is working or has potential, and so on. Anyway, let's see how we are doing. So we're going to take a look at my reselling income first of all. And I can tell you that my page views are up 10.8%, which is fantastic. My sales conversion rate is 1.3%, and that is roughly normal for me. It's usually between 1.1 and 1.3. And if it drops to just 1%, then I usually kind of take measures to try and sort that out, because that then becomes quite low and a bit of a problem. My turnover is basically 148% up. That's brilliant in some ways, definitely not knocking it. Really pleased with that. Where have I put it? My actual turnover is about 1,360 over 31 days. So let's put that into some sort of context for you. So before the summer, when my shop was working quite well, I used to do a day and a half's work a week on eBay. That used to typically, with the exception of Q4 and usually 1 to 2 months over the summer, typically would have a turnover of, so I'm trying to remember things here. It would typically bring me a turnover of around £1,400, and that used to be enough for me to actually cover all of my expenses. So at sort of 1,360, I'm almost back to what was my typical amount outside of those slightly anomalous months where things are just a bit different. And so that on the surface looks really fantastic, and I am very pleased. However, here are the ways in which, when I contextualize it, it's not as great as it seems. £1,400 in the middle of November of Q4 actually isn't typical. So it's great that it's heading back to what was typical during like average months, but in November I would be expecting a turnover of around 2,000, anything really from maybe 1,800 if it wasn't particularly strong, to maybe 2,500 if it was like doing really well. And I've kind of had both. I've had like weird Q4s, and a lot of that depended on how many listings I had and things like that. That's the other thing to mention. So a typical month would be about £1,400 turnover with about 850 items listed. So actually, even though the nearly 1,400 that I've got at the moment in the middle of November isn't like a typical Q4, I'm on about 430 listings on average. So I'm kind of like half the number of listings that I would normally have. So actually, when you sort of weigh that up, if I had the 850 listings, then actually, theoretically, I would be doing better than normal. So all of this is quite difficult to suss out without me sitting down and properly going through all of the numbers and doing kind of comparisons and things like that, which I don't really have the time to do at the moment. I'm just going to work with these sort of ballpark figures and things. The other thing as well is £1,400 turnover isn't going to be enough to pay my expenses anymore, because of course they have increased. My bills, the utility bills, have increased over the course of this year. Food has gone up. So my expenses are no longer the same. Other thing that has shifted as well is the percentage of my turnover that's actually taken up by eBay fees and the shop subscription, you know, all the transaction fees, promoted listings, all of that kind of jazz. And that is now 27% of my turnover, which is higher. I certainly don't like it to go over 25%. And there was a time when it was around 20%, so a lot lower. So one of the things that I have done is, the thing that I can make the most difference with is how I'm using promoted listings. So I had it on the suggested ad rate with a cap on it as to how high it could go. And I actually set that cap quite high. So I've brought that in, I think a couple of percentage points, maybe 2 to 3, brought that in. And then the other thing that I realized that you could do that I wasn't doing is that you can also set it to not go beyond like 1 or 2% either side of the suggested ad rate. So I've also done that as well, because one of the things that I noticed with eBay is it will take you right up to the cap sometimes. So just give you an example here. These are not my actual numbers, but something like if the suggested ad rate is 5.5% or something along those lines, and you've set your cap at say 10%, instead of just putting it a bit over the suggested rate, it puts it right up to the 10%. And it feels like eBay are just doing something a little bit sneaky there. And it feels like they're trying to do that and they don't think that I'm watching them. They don't think that I'm noticing these things, but I have. So I've now kind of added that in there as a safeguard so that I feel a little bit more in control with what's going on with the promoted ads. And I don't really like setting it at a fixed amount anymore, because in the sort of jewellery category that I sell in, the suggested ad rates sort of vary all over the place. So what I was finding is that I was overpaying for some things that didn't need to be so high, and then sort of underpaying for other things that are in a slightly more competitive field. So, you know, I kind of want to use eBay's suggested rates. That's just me personally. It's not do not take anything I say or do as any kind of recommendation. That's just what I feel like I want to do, or that is what I want to do. Not feel like I want to do, that is what I want to do and am doing. But I've kind of brought that in just slightly, so it's a little bit more controlled by me rather than by eBay. Although if you're being really cynical, I do feel like I'm being completely controlled by eBay a lot of the time when I'm using their platform. The upshot of all of this is I need to go and do sort of work out the figures properly, but I think what I'm looking at is I definitely want to kind of increase the number of listings. I've spoken about this before. I think we're going to be looking at somewhere around 500, 550 on eBay, and then another 200, 300 on Etsy, and kind of see where that gets me. But I think what we're looking for is from my reselling, and that's eBay and Etsy combined. I'm not really talking about Etsy much because I've sold 3 things on there now with 38 listings, and I'm kind of pleased with that. I'm kind of okay with that, I think. But it's going to take me a little while to build that up. But anyway, I think what we're looking at, roughly speaking, is I'm now going to need a turnover across my reselling platforms of about, I'd say, 1550 to 1600 as like a minimum, to make sure that everything's covered. And then again at Christmas time, I'd be hoping for more than that. Certainly next year. I don't think I'm going to be able to increase my listings in time quite for this Q4, because the other thing that you have to take into account is, as I'm sort of building this back up again, when your cash flow is a bit tight, I'm kind of doing this balancing act between what I can reinvest into stock and what I need to take from the business towards bills and things. And I am making some progress with that, and I'm getting back into a more sensible sort of balance. And eventually what will happen is what was happening before, is it will just click into place in terms of the percentage of the money that I make that gets reinvested, as opposed to the percentage that goes on fees and all of that stuff. It all starts to just slot into place, and we're not there yet. I expect I probably will be in the new year, but overall I'm pleased. It's heading in the right direction. Having said that, This is Monday. Yesterday, Sunday, slap bang in the middle of November, I had one sale for $14.99. Just like, Q4? What? Anyway, I do understand we are almost, well, we're on the verge of being kind of declared in a recession. It's definitely predicted, and it's going to happen. So we're in a recession, people are having to tighten their belts, people have got to pay for their food and for their utility bills, and all of that has to come first. And I'm selling in a field, in a category that is very much treat items, not things that people, anyway. I fully appreciate the economic circumstances that we find ourselves in the UK, and that actually that's going to have a big impact on how the shops progress. Having said that, I am not ditching my reselling stream of income, because what I've learned from doing it over the years is that actually it's a pretty tough and resilient business, and it's one that I can do without, it doesn't take up an awful lot of like mental capacity or physical space anymore now that I've switched to jewellery, and I can get into the routine, and I can kind of get stuff out there, and it's worth hanging on to, because actually what I'm thinking about as well is also, you know, a couple of years into the future, if my business is profitable now, and let's say it gets to the point where it's kind of covering my bills again, even if it's just about, well, imagine in a year's time, 2 years' time, when things start to just adjust and pick up, because at some point they will. Well, then this little business that I've maintained over this really difficult period of you know, economic times, then that could be bringing me in a bit more than I need, or maybe a lot more than I need at that point in the future. So I'm sticking with it. I'm experimenting a little bit with the Etsy side of things. If that doesn't work, then, you know, maybe I'll just have to throw all my eggs into the eBay basket again. But I think I will probably always keep a little something on Etsy. I just want that spread of risk, and I think that's where this 10 streams of income has kind of come from as well. Right, let me check to see if there's anything else with regards to reselling. I think it's been a bit garbled what I've just said. I know what I mean in my head, I really do, and I probably haven't expressed it very clearly. Those of you that are resellers might get the gist of what I'm talking about a hell of a lot more. If you're not a reseller and you're here for information about the other income streams, then yeah, I'm sorry, I've just been banging on about eBay and reselling for this length of time. Oh yeah, reselling goals. I thought I would share with you some of the things that I'm trying to achieve and kind of get to by the end of November. A note on the screenshot and the stuff I've been talking about. It's just a screenshot that I took this morning, so it's kind of half October, half November. Like I said, this is a little bit of a muddled progress report at the moment, because I'm not at a point where I can be particularly organised with it as yet. Anyway, reselling goals. So I would like to have 500 listings on average. It might go a little bit above, a little bit below, by the end of November. And I think I'm down to 420 now, because I did sell quite a few things either on Friday or Saturday, I think. Lots of little low-cost items went out the door. So try and get to 500. It's a little bit tricky because, like I said, I don't have as much coming in to reinvest, but I will try and make some really sort of good, sensible decisions with regards to that over the remaining 2 weeks of this month, and just see if I can get close to that 500. 100 listings on Etsy by the end of November. I have got a little bit of a backlog of Etsy photographs that I have taken and Etsy items that I haven't even photographed yet. So there's every chance that I could get, you know, kind of close to that 100 by the end of the month. I have set myself the challenge of catching up on at least 3 months worth of bookkeeping. One of the reasons why I'm not being very, precise about this, and it's all ballpark figures, is because I'm so behind with my bookkeeping that it's just so much went out of the window this year. It's unreal. So catch up with 3 months of bookkeeping. And then the other thing that I want to do for the Etsy shop is to design and order some thank you postcards or business cards. I think postcards, because I can write a really lovely message and I can, you know, I can design, I can like draw something myself on my iPad that can go on the other side, try and sort of almost Etsy-fy my packaging and things in that way. Maybe even some thank you stickers as well to pop on the boxes and the packages. I don't know. Again, it depends on what funds allow, but I would like to do that by the end of November. So that's all the reselling gubbins that I have by now waffled on about for well over 10 minutes. Right, the next thing then is and I think I've got this in a completely different order. Oh yeah, exam marking. So one of the things that I did last summer, or this summer actually, was to do some coursework moderation for an exam board. I say a lot more about that in the online income video. A couple of things have happened since then. The first one is pretty good in that I didn't realise that I still had one more payment to come. So I received that. I might have mentioned that in the vlog, I can't remember. So I got like a further payment of, I can't remember how much now. It all came to £400, and it was some tax that was paid back to me. So they taxed me at 40%, which is completely incorrect. It was correct the last time I worked for them when I was in full-time employment as a teacher, but it was not correct for me now. Far from it. So I got my tax back and I got this final payment, and all of that meant that I was able to get myself up to date again with what I sort of owed for my share of the bills and expenses and stuff like that. So that was really good. The other thing that happened that's really good, that really just made my day, is I got my it's like a feedback form that your team leader fills out about you. So the exam will basically know how well you've performed and whether to invite you back to do more work next year, or whether to perhaps not, because you weren't very good at it. I was so over the moon with the feedback that I got. So I got rated the highest rating that was possible on there, and I got really good sort of specific feedback from my team leader, and she has recommended me for team leadership next year if a position arises. And that is the highest sort of feedback that you can get, is you're then recommended to, it's like a little promotion, isn't it? It's a little promotion with the exam board, which would be fantastic. And so I'm really, really pleased about this. I know when the time comes, if there is a vacancy and if I get offered it, I will sit there and I'll just be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this or not. I don't know if I can do it, even though my work history would suggest that team leader is the ideal role for me to do. I'm gonna have a moment, I just know I am, but I also know that I am going to say yes to the opportunity if it arises. Now, what that means in terms of my income is that it will be higher, it will be more. Not only will I be taking on more centres, which was something that I would do anyway, if I can get one of these vacancies, if one crops up, then it means that I will basically get paid more. I'll have more things to do. I'll be looking after a team of people, and of course you get paid to do that. And I will have to attend a couple more things before everything starts up, and you will get paid, or I will get paid for my attendance to that. So there is the potential for this stream of income to actually earn me more than I was predicting, and that is going to be so perfect for over the summer slump that I get with my reselling. And the other thing that was fantastic about it is something that I realise is missing from my self-employment work, is getting professional feedback on your skills, the quality of the work that you're producing, and also that it's nothing to do with the money that you're making. It's simply, are you doing a good job? And I think when you are self-employed, it is so easy to fall into the trap of going with the, measuring your skills and your abilities and your success levels, if that's the way you kind of view things, to automatically look at how much money you're making and think that that's it, that's the feedback you're getting. But that's so impersonal, and it doesn't take account of all, the entirety, the whole of what you are doing. And also there is something about getting feedback from someone who is in the same field as you, that has the same professional qualifications as you, has the same type of kind of work history and experience as you, and to get that kind of feedback, I realised was something that was missing, and it gave me the kind of boost that I haven't been able to get from anything else. You know, when your boss tells you you've done a good job, and when you're your own boss, it's me telling me I've done a good job, and I don't think I'm very good at doing that. But yeah, it made me realise as well that I missed that professional contact with you know what I'm saying, it lifted me up, and I just feel really, really pleased about it. And I think I must never drop this. I think even if all of my income streams suddenly become wildly successful, which they probably won't, but even if they do, I think I have to keep the work for the exam board, the work in education, the academic side of things, because there is something about that fulfills something in me that none of the other things that I do can, and that's important, and it's great. Made me feel really good. So that's not bringing any money in right now, but it will be something that will hopefully keep my finances on track over next summer. Right, the next income stream that I'm going to talk about then is this channel, is YouTube. I said in the vlog, I've just been stunned, just really stunned by how receptive people have been to the stuff that I've been talking about, how generous and interested and curious people have been about the stuff that I've been talking about. More than anything, the thing that I need to get this channel remonetized is the watch time. It's not the subscribers. The subscriber number is fine where it is. It's the watch time, and I need 4,000 hours, and I'm currently sitting on, I think, about 2,200. Each video that I put out is averaging kind of anything from I'd say 100 to 150. And then there's the occasional one that's going higher than that, either because it's a slightly longer video or it's just got a lot more views than some of the others. But it's just been brilliant. It's just been so good to come back and to just talk about a wide range of things and not worry too much about, you know, views and direction of the channel and all of that stuff. I'll worry about that next year. Or not worry about it, I'll think about that properly for next year, I think. At the moment, I just getting into the habit of talking to you all and making the videos, getting them out there, and so on. So what we're looking at then in terms of getting remonetized, at the moment, I'm getting, I'd say, about 1,000 hours a month. I'd say that's from about 4 to 6 videos a month. So if I can get out about 6 videos in November, might be a bit of a push now because I've missed a week, which I don't know if I said at the beginning, I'll talk about that in a vlog. I think we could be looking at maybe mid-December for that 4,000 watch hours, if not certainly by the end of December. And I reckon that the whole process of applying and stuff, sometimes it's really fast. It was fast for me last time, but sometimes it can be slow for people. But yeah, so hopefully this channel and these videos will start making a bit of money in January, which will be really fantastic to actually include this as a stream of income that's actually set up and running. And then when we get to that point, we can start to think about actually what kind of direction, what kind of things am I going to make videos about? How much is it making me a month, and perhaps how many videos a month do I need to average to get that £100 a month that I was talking about, all of that stuff. So goals are release 6 videos in November and hopefully get to around 3,000 watch hours by the end of November, which will get me, I'll be 75% of the way there. Right, next up then is KDP, which I think I've said in my separate KDP videos, or if I haven't done yet, I'm going to be saying this in the future ones. It's got a bit stuck. So I made £21 last month. I think I put out maybe, I don't know, like 5 or 6 new notebooks, and I think a couple of scrapbook paper pads. I'm not putting out loads and loads of books, and I feel like I've sort of stopped experimenting and things. like, I love that I got this £21 relatively passively, and a lot of it comes from books that I've uploaded like in the previous year. But it definitely needs looking at. It definitely needs looking at. I need to scrutinise and evaluate what I'm doing in order to kind of get to the next level, which, like I said, is that £100, about $110 of passive income from it every month. There's loads of things that I can look at and experiment with and do. So that's something that I can make videos on as well. And yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say about that. Grateful for the 20 quid, but it needs to be more than that, and it needs to be looked at. And it's something very similar with Redbubble, actually. I think it was a similar amount. Yeah, so £27 from Redbubble. And I am toying with the idea of dropping it apart from. So what I've started to do with it is I've got like brand names that I use on Etsy and then also use on Amazon KDP, and then also have two of them on Redbubble. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that every design that I create goes onto merchandise, print on demand, or digital downloads or what have you on Etsy. Then it also goes onto a notebook cover or onto a scrapbook paper pad or whatever is appropriate on Amazon KDP, and then also goes under the same brand name on Redbubble as well, so that I'm using each design at least sort of 3 different ways, 3 different times, 3 different platforms. And I think I'm going to continue doing that. And actually most of my Redbubble sales are coming from me doing that. But what I'm not going to do is like the Redbubble research and looking for niches and sort of chasing trending designs on Redbubble. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to use it as a platform to put my designs onto products and hopefully get to the point. Because the other thing that I did was I opened this Pinterest account. I have popped a few pins on there. I haven't really got into sort of using it properly, but I want to try and drive traffic for these different brands to these different platforms where the design can be purchased in various different ways and on various different products. I think that's how I'm going to use Redbubble. So I guess I'm still going to include it as an income stream on here, but it's going to be all kind of like knitted together with Amazon KDP and with Etsy. And speaking of Etsy, this is the one where I've really struggled to kind of get going on. I keep getting these ideas and then I'm struggling to find the time to do anything much with it. I think I made about £8 to £10 last month from, no, it might be slightly more than that actually. I think it was at least 10 over the last month from digital downloads from Printables. And none of the print on demand products that I've got on there are selling. They're getting likes, some of them, but they're not selling. And so what I think I might do is just dive into the digital downloads a bit more and the Printables, because actually they are completely passive and really great and in that respect, and not pursue the print on demand quite so much. I might just go down a little bit of a printable route and see how that works out for me. Try and carve out a little bit more time for it. So I think I wrote down some goals for it. I've got 40 listings as a goal on here, but I don't think I checked that properly, because I think I'm already at about 38 listings on one of them. So that's not right. So I think we'll aim for 75 listings on Etsy, and I'm going to focus on the digital downloads rather than the print on demand products. Put on here, do some Pinterest marketing, which is not very specific, is it? So let's say I probably got fed up because I'm at the end of my list now that's on here. Let's get a bit more specific with that. I'm going to create 10 pins for this like separate account that I've got, that I've set up purely to promote my KDP stuff and my Redbubble stuff. Let's say I'm going to create 10 pins by the end of November. Right then, my friends, friends of Sparrows End. Oh God, I've waffled so much, and I'm very sorry that I haven't spoken about this with the clarity that I would like. But yeah, a lot has happened in the last week to 10 days in my personal life. Also, I feel quite muddled still, and I'm hoping for some real clarity in the new year. At the moment, I'm just muddling along. I hope I've expressed myself clearly enough for you to have got something out of this video, whether it be entertainment or information, or I don't know, it's certainly unlikely to be motivation and inspiration. We'll try for that next time. But if you have stopped by and you've spent this length of time with me, then thank you so much. Helps me with those watch hours. And I will see you again soon for another video. The videos I've got planned coming up, the next two that I'm going to film a vlog this week, perhaps across 1 to 2 days of this week I'll be filming a vlog. Pop that out soon. And then the other one is an update on my decluttering to pay off my mortgage. There's that. And then there's also a KDP one that I'm going to record, and it's going to be a how I really feel about it, because I've got some mixed feelings about KDP at the moment, and I'm going to elaborate and express that to you all. So that's what's coming up, and there is now more for me to say than thank you for stopping by, and I will see you again very soon.